Well, we got a couple things to talk about today. The first one is this Reddit post. If you haven't seen this poor guy's Tundra engine lit on fire and burned to a crisp. We'll go through that in a second. There's also another guy that has, I think, 103,000 miles on his dead Tundra that happened 4 days ago. Then we've got more horror stories and a flock of satchels. More on that in a minute. So let's get into it. So this is the first story. The guy says 17,000 miles and this happened coming home today. My baby caught fire. Total loss, obviously. Check these photos out. There's the hood up. We'll go back. Okay. There's the hood, the top of the hood, a little close up. It actually didn't burn the cab, which is interesting. But here in a second, I want to see what you guys think. I have some theories as to why this happened, and I want you guys to comment and see what you think. I got 2 or 3 theories, but I think it's probably fuel related, and we'll talk about why. And I got a close up there of the brake area, the master cylinder and all the brake lines. Everything's just melted all the way up to the windshield wiper. You can see a lot of electrical wires there. Oof, that's terrible. Just melted all over the place. You can see where there's the intercooler on top, all those black hoses, everything is just melted down to a crisp. Everything up here all the way to the rubber. It's kind of weird that it didn't go any further though. It's a little interesting that it just kind of stayed consolidated to this engine area and didn't spread, which is actually a good thing. And you can see a lot of wires look like orange wires, but it's actually not what you think. Oof. So bad. It's just charred. There's the fire department there taking a heat reading with their gun. The hood. Barbecue. Now the first thing I thought of is, well, it's a platinum, and I thought maybe this was a hybrid, and I was, going down the path like a lot of people were. Oh, it's a hybrid. It's got to be an EV fire. Anyway, if you look here at the platinum logo, but if you actually look back at the hood, there's no iForce Max logo here. And as you can see here, the op said this is not a hybrid. So sorry, EV haters. Looks like we're going to have to wait for the next one. So then my mind went to, well, it's got to be rodents, right? Like rodents got up there, chewed some wires.
June discovered a whole host of consumer complaints that rodents are attracted to the Toyota wiring because the covering is made of soy, a plant material. It's like dessert for rodents.
There was a shift some years ago in the auto industry to go from petroleum-based soy covering to soy-based wiring because it was viewed as more environmentally friendly and also because it was cheaper.
As you can see here, the same op, the guy that started this thread, who owns the Tundra, he said, well, it wasn't rodents or any aftermarket electrical stuff. I don't know what caused it to catch fire. And if you look at this photo of his truck, there really aren't any modifications. I mean, he's got stock wheels. It doesn't look like he was heavy into mods. He was probably just driving it, not like a lot of these guys where they get the truck and mod it the day they get it. Then I read some folks were saying, oh, it's a recall. There was a fuel recall on this and he didn't get the recall done. But I don't think that's it either. So if you look at this recall, they say subject vehicles are equipped with a plastic fuel tube that is held in place by a clamp and routed near the metallic brake lines at the top of the fuel tank. The clamp can allow the tube to move in contact with adjacent brake lines and under certain driving conditions. So they're saying that it's going to rub, the plastic fuel line is going to rub against the metallic brake lines and cause a fuel leak. But it's all above the fuel tank, and that's obviously located in the back of the vehicle, not the front of the vehicle. So just the location of the recall doesn't jive with an engine fire in the engine compartment. And as you can see, they say that the fuel smell while driving and while parked may be noted. Leaking fuel may also be observed near the rear right wheel of the vehicle. So in addition to that, I think the op had said that he had already got this recall performed on his truck. And so for me, I'm going to land on this is probably a rare one-off thing. I searched for other third-gen Tundras. I couldn't find any that had this happen. Almost everything points to fuel system leaks being the #1 reason why this happens. And my guess is there's some problem with one of the fuel lines, maybe something around the injector, maybe something cracked. Maybe it was electrical, maybe it was rodents. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think it was? What do you think the likelihood is that it was rodents versus maybe some sort of fuel system leak or design flaw? That takes us to the second story. This guy said he had a great 4th of July weekend until his truck decided to lose its engine power, 103,000 miles strong. He thought he was one of the lucky ones, had to tow his car he was in Mexico. So, yeah, that's a little crazy. He said, we'll see what the text says. This all points to a recall issue. Probably right. Probably has a spun main bearing. But this is the highest mileage third gen I've seen. 103,000 miles and it's blowing. So I know a lot of people were like, man, once you get past a certain mileage, maybe you're in the clear. Maybe not. It's a little bit scary if you've got one of the higher mileage ones. This is why you see people panic selling and trading them in after 60K because they just don't want to deal with this stuff, even if it is under a recall. Here's another poor guy, 8,000 miles on his 2023 Tundra Limited. She just broke down this morning with the engine losing 50% power, followed by some choking, and boom, shut down, losing all power. Checked the VIN last week on the recall tool he was given, and it was produced in 823. It said he was not impacted by the engine issues, but clearly that was not the case. Then we've got Philip Boyd. Oh, this would be a bummer. His 22 just went through its second motor with his family, and he and his family were headed to the Frio River in Texas. Happened on the 3rd of July. The first time it happened, it was after we got back from the river. Must hate that river. Currently, been with Toyota customer service and have a case manager. She's sending him all his information to pursue the lemon law. Oh man, what a bummer. Can you imagine in this lower right-hand corner just being stuck with your family there in a trailer and having to get a tow? What a pain in the butt. Then this one was really interesting. This guy got a short block rebuild after the bearing failure, and he got an update on day 31 because if they go past 30 days, you can pursue lemon law and get a truck buyback. So they did a short block rebuild. The guy was surprised that they had it done in 31 days. He said he was invoiced. The dealer invoiced Toyota over $15,000, which is much less than what normally is invoiced. And the poor guy, look at the skimping on the parts here. So if you look at this, he's got the short block assembly, gasket kit, rings. I mean, there's no turbos. There's no replacement of anything that all the other pieces that have oil flowing through them. I guess they just hose it out, rinse it out. Interesting too, the technician, this might be telling that there is some sort of a clearance problem or something because he didn't find a lot of metal. Read on the bottom of what the technician said. He said he tried to start the vehicle, but it won't crank. Towed it into the shop, tested the battery, and the battery test passed. Performed a health check and had no DTCs. Turned engine over by hand, and it turns over very hard, so the starter can't turn the engine over. Took an oil sample and found no metal flake in the oil. Weird. Note that he says he found no metal flake in the oil, but the bearing is seized. And then he removes the engine from the vehicle. And then the second set of notes here from the tech says, he found the number one main crankshaft bearing has spun and locked the crankshaft up, causing the engine to stall and not start back up. Found only a slight amount of metal flakes in the lower oil pan. Interesting, the first time he said he didn't find any flakes, and then the second time he's saying he found flakes, so I don't know what's true there, but I'm guessing there's got to be some flakes, but you would think there would be, if it's locked up, there would be a lot of metal and a lot of shredding going on, but maybe this is a clearance issue. Maybe that's why they updated this part. Then he goes on to say that he inspected all the other engine parts and found no damage to anything. Replaced engine short block and reassembled the engine with new gaskets and seals. Cleaned and flushed out other engine parts that oil runs through. Oh, great. And installed the engine back in the vehicle and topped it off with coolant. Then he test drove it several miles and rechecked for leaks. Wonder if he dumped the oil after this rebuild and checked the new short block. Boy, I can't believe they're reusing all these parts. This is probably going to end up in another dead engine. And it wouldn't be a Tundra video if I didn't talk about at least one more broken radio knob that just happened an hour ago. 2024 Tundra. Parts department says it's on back order. I wonder why. Again, $80,000 trucks. I don't think we should expect them to have to give us great radio knobs. One commenter said, "Why are you touching the radio knob anyway? You just use the one on the steering wheel. I mean, you shouldn't be touching the one on the dash that breaks. Come on." And lastly, and possibly my favorite, is you get a bag of 1794 limited goodies. You get these leather bags and the key fob holder. I mean, what man doesn't want a satchel when they buy a $70,000 to $80,000 truck? Oh my goodness. It reminds me of Ray Barone, and do you remember Frank Barone? Anybody watch Everybody Loves Raymond?
You will vacuum me? Yeah. What? I help out around the house sometimes. Well, that's nice. Do you dust too? With a little feather duster? Nancy?
My favorite part of this image is the fact that there's only one key fob If you know the joke, it's like when you buy a new Tundra, you only get one key fob because they have a chip shortage apparently. So the other one's empty. Anyway, thanks for watching. Till next time.